Greetings, YouTube. I find myself arguing with folks online a lot when it comes to civil liberties and human rights. And one of the things that pops up a lot, particularly in America, is reproductive rights. The right to decide whether you do or do not end up pregnant and what you do about that. The right to access birth control, the right to access Plan B, which is birth control, the right to access healthy, safe abortions, which are reproductive health. That's a medical service. There are times when the best possible medical treatment a person can undergo is to abort a fetus. But in addition, just don't want to be pregnant is a good enough reason for an abortion. That's it. Just don't want to be pregnant. How a person got pregnant doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it was consensual or non-consensual. That is absolutely meaningless. What matters is, does the person carrying the fetus want to keep the fetus? Period. And as far as I'm concerned, that should be perfectly legal up to week 24. Up to week 24, you don't get to bat an eye about the topic. It's not your uterus. You don't get to decide what happens to it. Because at the heart of this, at least to me, is bodily autonomy. And for me, bodily autonomy is square one. It is the most basic right of all. If you do not have bodily autonomy, if you do not get to decide what does and doesn't happen to your body, medically and politically and socially, then you don't have any other rights. If somebody walked up to you in the street and said, I want your blood right now, you can't do that. It's illegal. If they try to harvest one of your organs, it's illegal. All right? They can't force you to do something. You can't even take the organs from a dead person unless they have explicitly given that right while they were alive. A corpse has higher degrees of bodily autonomy in America than does a person who is carrying a fetus. Because the person with the fetus, suddenly society and the legal system has said, well, we've decided we get to decide what you do with your body. We've decided that you will get to be an incubator and you don't have any say in the matter. Now, behind all of this ugliness is a deep well of white nationalism. There are so many people in America who are desperately afraid that the number of white people in the world is dropping. And in America, eventually, white people will no longer be the majority. And this terrifies the red caps. The idea that if they become a minority group, because America will become a majority minority country, which means no group has more than 50% of the population, and every group has some proportion of the population that is below 50%. But the total, of course, makes 100%. Um, if they become a minority group, they will be treated poorly. Why? Because they treat minority groups poorly that while they currently are the majority. So rather than making sure we have a robust legal system that makes sure every single human being has bodily autonomy, has civil liberties, has human rights, which is the smartest thing to do. It guarantees your safety politically and legally, and it guarantees the safety of your children and your grandchildren and your neighbors and friends and family. It means that everyone gets treated the same under the law. Rather than do that, they want to impose a white nationalistic worldview for as long as possible until they simply can't do it anymore. And at the foundation of that is to undermine bodily autonomy. Just knock the legs right under it. Because if they can get the law to say that you have to carry a fetus whether you want to or not, then destroying all the rest of the rights that a person has is so much easier. Bodily autonomy is square one. If you don't have that right, you don't have any rights. And I cannot stress that enough. If you know someone out there who thinks that bodily autonomy is important, explain to them why it is. And if they start giving you a pushback about how abortion is an exception, just shut that shit down. It's not your uterus. It's not your business. If you don't have a uterus, well, then it's not your goddamn business. What someone else does with their uterus is just between that person and their medical provider. Period. Bodily autonomy must be preserved, or we don't have any rights at all.